Welcome to this game for 5th place in the mixed division at the Elite Invite in Leuven. We're very excited to have Reading from the UK match up against Tartu Turbulance from Estonia. Both teams seem to be very well matched, both finishing 4th in their respective groups, but losing only in Universe in the quarter. Reading against Deep Space and Tartu against 08 Ultimate, and coming back with relatively strong wins in this respective semi in the lower half. So this should be a really exciting matchup between these two. They've matched up for first time at the EUCF club finals last year, with Reading having the upper hand in that matchup, but we will see how it is today. The game will start shortly. In about 2 minutes, so we see the teams matching up. Another thing those teams have in common compared to other rosters in the mixed division or in general, that they both have comparatively smaller rosters, which is also something that might lead to a more strenuous experience at this elite level. So we have Reading in black and Tartu in white. Based from the setup, I believe Tartu is receiving the disc in this first point. So let's see what they get up to. Players to look out for from both teams. Tartu currently with Jakob Tam in the number 7, the stats leader in the entire mixed division, not only for his team, but also Christian Lauritz and Helen Tara and Marin Raba having quite an impact for the Estonian side, whereas CJ Kulieko, 99, and Connor Hogan from Reading as male matching players, and Hannah Brew, Fai and Imogen Wong were quite influential for Reading in the past. And this is the first poll. We see the classic setup from the Estonians with a somewhat split horizontal stack. Some discussion on whether that disc was down, I believe. From what I can tell, there's a good chance it might have, because this was not the intended receiver, that the disc touched the ground first, but we will see what the people with the clearest perspective on the pitch will decide. They don't seem to agree, so the disc is going back, and we'll reset to that earlier possession. Now Helen Tara with the disc to Marin Laba. And we have Lauritz with the assist. To Jakob Tam. Both again racking up on the scoreboard. This was a setup that has been very beneficial in the past, was exactly this kind of hybrid L stack, if you want to put it that way, with two players clouding on one side in the somewhat split stack and creating a lot of isolation for that middle player to create space and for that initial cut. We will probably see that again, hopefully executed as successfully as here for Tartu Turbulence. Let's see what Reading is up to. Great cut to the open side. And a lovely put again. Great effort on the catch on the second effort there by number 71. Good connection between those players. And then putting it in, punching it in into the end zone on that front cone. There is some discussion, but that is probably not affecting the score, but rather checking in whether the level of play is acceptable. That's an assist from Luka Nedic to Marcos Calci. A very clean and open fast point for Reading as well. And the pull is up again. Unfortunately, it looks from this end like it didn't hit the central field and landed out of bounds. So this player, Tartu, can now choose to either walk it to the brick point in the middle of the pitch or choose to put it in from the sideline. If that is closer to the attacking end zone, they might choose to do so instead of taking it to the middle. But they've opted for the brick mark. Lovely swing to Jakob Tam. Lauritz back on the desk. Back to Tam. I'm happy to move the disc quickly and into the space that the tight person coverage is giving them. and have a lot of trust into each other to finish in front of this very tight corner into the end zone. Martin Raba to Yannick Peyo for the second clean hold for Tartu. Let's see if this match keeps as clean and as even. Reading again with a somewhat setup for a word stack, creating somewhat of a cloud, and a pick is called, so the disc is going back. A great grab, but an unfortunate body contact. That is an accepted foul immediately. So this comes back into play. Unfortunate misconnection. This is the first break opportunity for Tartu right on the doorstep for the goal line. Let's see if they can keep calm and carry it in. They're isolating one player in front, and unfortunate, great isolation play, unfortunate drop, and couldn't clearly connect with the disc. So Reading back to getting this disc, great person coverage at first, but the second J card works perfectly. Happy to break and create lots of space on the pitch, and now a swing to the middle and a run through. Connor Hogan with the disc and a lovely put into the end zone. Can they connect? And yes, they can! So this is a hole for Reading, making the score even. Connor Hogan, a very experienced player, all through the division, has been playing with Reading for quite some time, is also contributing to the community with a YouTube channel. So if you haven't had time to check it out yet, feel free to do so. Is originally from Ireland, giving them more of a diverse grouping in this Great Britain team. Tartu setting up again in a 3-4 horizontal stack, and now putting it deep. Unfortunate that disc. It looked like it might be too far, but my eyes deceived me, and that is a connect for Tartu, another clean hold. Jakob Tan put a perfect backhand tuck up there for Terra to just run it down and get another score on the board. These scores so far have been very, very, very quick. An impressive gameplay from both sides, keeping calm and connecting cleanly. That was a beautiful pull and a great rundown, making that first pass already challenging. But Reading manages to get the disc all across to the other sideline. And then there's another misconnection between those handlers for Reading and presenting another break opportunity for Tartu. And that is a very calm and easy score, I believe. Terra picked up that disc and just popped it into the waiting arms for Christian Lauritz. An impressive showing from this rather young side from Estonia. This is for a lot of them the first time playing at an elite invite, for some of them even the first elite outdoor tournament. So this is a great development out of for this club. Some of them more used to playing indoor. We know that Reading has some very experienced players, so I'm sure they can manage to get those initial miscommunications and overthrows. I shouldn't have said anything. This is was a commentator's curse. I was talking about the exact same thing, and then it happened again. Another great opportunity for Tartu. Great collection of that rather high disc and another great grab. Timo Ilves on the disc, and then instead of picking a short option, it was covered quite well by Reading, has to put it up and can't unfortunately connect to one of his. Is great read by the defense. Reading is back on the disc, setting up in a 1-6. And now, easy connection between those handlers to get the disc moving. And then a great put. Let's see if they can run it down. It looks like it is contested, but still the Reading player comes down with it. This is another hold for Reading. Marius Hutchison to Andrew Lewis is who put that incredible throw into space. And Andrew Lewis is the person getting to that disc under great defensive pressure from Tartu. And another pull up. Great separation from Marin Raba, put into space to get that initial disc. And now, great grab by, I think, Halantara on that far side to keep that disc in play. Another great put, and let's see. It's a contested grab, but I believe Jakob Tam might have come down with it. But good pressure from the defensive side to make that a contested throw. I was correct. Christian Lauritz to Jakob Tam again, putting Jakob Tam again on the top end of that scoreboard for Tartu Turbulence. Might be important for Reading to figure out how they can stop that connection from happening. You can see that Jakob Tam can throw and cut, so it is difficult to choose what you want to take away from him. But that is the biggest threat right now for when it comes to scoring. The connection between those two has worked out twice with exactly the same setup. But now it's another go for Reading. Tartu putting up a sort of zone, but with a great isolation, and then very fast throw on the goal line. Another throw is necessary, and so they reset it into the dump space to give them more options and some momentum to score. And some Reading player managed to cut from nowhere into that front cone to get the score. That was Jennifer Hagen to Alex Greer, putting them up on the scoreboard. So far, most of these points have been extremely fast, taking often less than 2 minutes, almost all less than 2 minutes. That is a good showing that so far the offense is running very, very smoothly, except for that one break that already took place and the one turn, the break chance Tartu had before that. Both sides are keeping it very smooth and calm to keep the disc within their team, just taking open options. And something that looks to shape up for an excellent pull, giving Reading the opportunity to run almost all across the field. Reading choosing to cover deep and pressure Tartu under. Let's see if that worked out. Unfortunately for Reading, one of them got still managed to creep away into the end zone, and Tartu put another score on the board. With a lovely forehand hack almost from half field into the end zone. Yannick Peo again to Jakob Tam, who is a very impressive and dominant receiver and cutter for Tartu at the moment. Tartu, having started on offense and already getting one break, means it's currently 4-6 up. Beautiful huck and great rundown for Reading, puts them almost on the doorstep, and then just another lovely forehand flick to get that disc into the end zone. A lovely clean hold. Scores Andrew Lewis to Imogen Wong. Impressive play. Let's see if Reading manages to keep the defensive pressure up and also get Tartu to maybe turn the disc on offense and pressure them a little bit more. One way of potentially making that happen is having maybe a different defense setup. They tried pushing them under, which unfortunately didn't work. Unfortunate for Reading, didn't work in the previous point, but made Tartu change their cutting pattern. So we'll see if there's maybe something else they can do to limit that connection. The wind conditions seem fine, so it might be an option to put up a zone, but it is not that windy, so that might still be not the best option based on the conditions. Marin Raba, very free, gets that disc and keeps it moving. And an unfortunate misconnection, the disc was slightly too high, gives Reading their first break chance. There's a quick discussion, but this will stand as a turn. Great defensive rundown, I believe, by Jakob Tam to get to the disc before the Reading cutters could connect to it in the end zone. Tartu again setting up in a horizontal stack, and Reading setting up in a somewhat clam position. Marin Raba cutting free under and getting the disc here on the near sideline. And then putting up an impressive wide forehand and is connected by Jakob Tam, who just puts it in to the end zone. That was an impressive play, mostly influential by that female matching player, Marin Raba, on this end. Crystal Linz is who collects that score, but they will be happy either way. It keeps it up 2 points, so it's 5-7 still for Tartu. They really seem to have worked on their connection from the first game on this pitch at Friday morning at in the morning period. That's the advantage of having a rather small roster, that you really get to know each other and get to really trust each other, and that the throw was contested, but still the trust in their receiver and in that skying prowess of Jakob Tam proves very efficient and clearly effective for Tartu so far. Tartu before this game started, is also currently leading in the spirit scores and sharing the spirit score 12 with Deep Space. If that keeps that way, they might, depending on the outcome of this game. Reading already to midfield with a rather shorter pull. Small cuts. Crowding the same space. And then just putting it up into the end zone. It seemed like the score count was already rising. So a magnificent put into that tight space on that front corner in the end zone to get it to a score. Great calmness from Jennifer Hagan, who couldn't get a reset even though she might have tried to, and great work by Marius Hutchison to run down that disc and get it in that front corner. That score keeping the game relatively tight. We can see that here's a timeout. I unfortunately can't tell you by whom. But while the players take a quick break, I will check what the scores are going on in the rest of the division. So we have a lot of very, very tight games in the rest of the division as well. A close game between Deep States and 08 Ultimate for the bronze medal is currently at 5-6. So definitely check that out once you get the chance. And Disconnection and Manchot fighting for the 7th place are also currently tied at 4. So all of these games are incredibly close. The mixed final between Lemmings and Sesquidistas hasn't started yet. It will start in about 15 minutes. The final is always a little bit delayed in our current tournament schedule. But you should definitely, after this game has ended, go over and watch that. If you haven't so far, you obviously also have the opportunity to watch a lot of other interesting games that have already finished today. For example, the women's final was very thrilling, and I'm not going to tell you who won in case you haven't had the opportunity to watch it yet. But I can promise you it was a rematch from last Elite Invite in Bern between Yaka and Jinx, now called Jinx Midnight, and it's definitely worth a watch. I haven't seen the open final between Gentle and Mooncatchers, but it's always nice to see two Belgium teams facing off against each other in their home turf of Belgium. So that is obviously also a very interesting and tight game to watch. Here we're back after timeout again with this isolation of the cutters that has worked so well, and for Tartu. And a great put and great read over their head to reel that disc in, and it's another score for Tartu. Let me tell you, that was Jakob Tam to Halantara, and that is half for us quite early at 28 minutes. The game time cap is at 100, so unless we reach 15 points before that, this is how long the second half might be. Considering the fastness of the first couple of points, we can see that obviously this is unlikely to last another 50 minutes. Tartu, after starting on offense in the beginning, is now starting on defense. whereas Reading gets to receive the disc, but they're switching the sides based on what the original setup was, and not continuing. What continues is obviously the mixed rotation that is not affected by half, but is currently following the new upper rule. I say new, but it's obviously been around for a couple of years now, prescribing that the gender ratio swaps every 2 points, after the first point being 1, for example. For female matching players, you switch to 3 female matching players for the next 2, and then you go back to the original and keep that up for 2 points, and that goes out through the entire game with no impact of half on that. Something that has definitely changed, you've probably heard about it already, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this game, but in case this is the first game you're watching and the first game of Ultimate this season, the European Ultimate Federation has changed the system from playing regional tournaments to qualify for the EUCF Club Final Championships taking place in Belgium as well, to this ranking system, where it's important to know that every point in every game counts, especially at this EUF tournament, where you can't opt out of having those points counting those games. A great run through D from Tartu, making it impossible for Reading to connect on that swing pass. And we're again within the third in front of the attacking end zone for Tartu. Setting up 2-6. I believe Lauritz on the disc right now. Now trapped on the far sideline. And unfortunately can't connect. Great pressure by Reading to take away easy reset options, and then they're limited options to get that disc into the end zone. So Reading with another shot of getting this point. Setting up 1-6 again. Great cut. Let's see if they can run it down. But Helen Terra comes down with that disc and gets the block. Was positioned greatly to peel off from the behind of the end of the stack to at least threaten and now also block any deep cuts. Setting up 3 handlers again, but not a classical horizontal in front. Putting up a long disc and that might be Terra again to get to that disc first. And another score for Tartu. Yes, Helen Terra, after getting that block, doesn't get bookends, but is the assist for Daniel Tater to make the score 9-6 for Tartu. That was a great heads-up defense from Helen Terra to get in the position of peeling off at the end of the stack to challenge that throw from Reading, and then getting that defensive block, and then a great cut to get, and a great awareness of where the disc was going to get that huck to then throw a very calm pass into the end zone. Impressive play from the Estonian. Tartu has told us that Helen Terra is probably the fastest, swiftest player, female matching player on the pitch. I can't contest if that is actually true, but she does definitely get those run-through Ds as promised. A great high release backhand to get that disc off to the break side. Great connection from the Reading handlers now. And putting their body on the line to keep the disc alive. And a great bone coverage there to get the disc moving again. Using that misconnection. Getting happy to swing and then being an impressive inside shot, run down to get the disc and keep it moving. But unfortunately, the put is slightly too high, making it very difficult to reel in. And Tartu with another break opportunity. There's also a misconnection now between the Tartu handlers. The cutter had already stopped, and then the disc is thrown into their back, and it's difficult to get to that throw. But that puts Reading on the doorstep for another goal, and they use the slowness of play and keep calm and just put it in. Marius Hutchison picking up that disc and then popping it in to Fiona Ray. Ray is also on the GB mixed team this season. So obviously an impressive player to watch out for. I mean, it's unfortunately sometimes very difficult to see numbers, so I can't always tell you immediately who has the disc currently. Reading is still in this game. All they need to do is slightly up their defensive pressure and challenging those well-established connections between Jakob Tam and Christian Lauritz, making it harder for them to connect. Obviously, they also need to stop the connections between those female matching players currently on the pitch, because that is a beautiful give and go. And then a easy break pass for Lauritz to throw the assist into space for Martin Daba, who gets the disc and collects another score. 7-10. Let's see if Reading chooses to switch up lines a bit or take another timeout sometime soon, but not at this point as the players start clearing the pitch. And pole is up. Reading setting up again in a 2-5 hard stack. Moving a disc among the handlers. The continuation slightly too early to get it moving. I'll take it back. A perfect deep cut to get the disc where it was going. Which is probably a classic zipper play. And now on the doorstep. A high release break. But read beautifully for the block by Hantara, but I don't know if that is an injury. That's an injury call. I don't know if that was impacted by body contact or just a very unlucky turn. I hope the player is going to be well and will join us on the pitch again soon. Eleanor Kemp going to replace the injured player. Tartu also choosing to swap a player out, as you can, to keep it fair on the fresh legs on the pitch. So the turn is going to stand. Tartu again, 4-3. With that poached coverage, an easy reset to Halantara and then pops it back. Great grab by Nigol to keep the disc moving, and then a impressive run through by Eleanor Kemp, who just got onto the pitch. And now, unfortunately, a missed connection to then also get the score, but we'll see potentially something like that again. A great put. Let's see if they can reel in, and another impressive defensive bid, getting high before the disc comes to the intended receiver. A near perfect read from that Reading player, almost as if it's in the name. I'm sorry, that's the only pun I'm going to make about that. I promise. Setting up 1-6 again.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, good. I have the cables.
Even though...
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Even though this last pass is covered by two defenders making a bit, trying to challenge that last throw, Reading can reel it in to get that point on the score. A great work from Alex Greer to get that initial deep cut going and reading the disc, and then the assist to Jennifer Hagen for the score. Reading really using the space to work against the setup clam, to work together to create the space for those options to work. The game is still within reach for both teams. And Reading seems to have found their connection again. So we'll see what they can do now on defense. We see something that shapes up to probably look like an impressive pull with a great hang time to make it difficult for even that first row to get off. Again, the isolation from that horizontal setup with those two matching players to work together easily on that open side at the far sideline.
I think it's again something with
a great high grab to reel that disc back in. A very high release, making that a contested throw, but Halantara comes down with it. Great body position. And a reset again to Lauritz, who just keeps the disc moving to see if there's something opening up in the end zone. To, I believe, maybe Jakob Tam. To Lauritz again for the score. Great slashing upline cut. Easily in front of the defender in that front corner where they really like to score. So far, Tartu has more or less always scored in the front corners of the end zone or the very small pop into the end zone, unless it's a really slashing deep cut. So one option might be to potentially try to stop that movement, handler movement, and really contesting those throws. So they are forced to throw overheads that we haven't seen them use so far in this game as much. So maybe that might be an option to make it more difficult for them to connect as closely. But again, they have been remaining very calm and trying to go for a reset and keep the disc moving to change the angle of attack for the end zone to create that space. A very low grab, but Ray managed to get that in and a high release, but unfortunately one can't connect to get that disc, keep that disc alive. Slightly more difficult angle than anticipated, probably. Tartu moving the disc. Great inside flick. And then back to Tara. Reading putting on exactly that kind of pressure. Angelou's very close to first getting the block, maybe pressuring the Tartu player to make an early throw, which is then unfortunately communication. Now we have an isolation play from Reading. Doesn't pan out exactly, which now means that the sec is quite far. Good attempt, and then on the second effort, Reading does connect to get back on the board. What an impressive heads-up play from that second player. That disc was definitely not going towards them, but they kept their headers even when their teammate was surrounded by three defensive players. They were like, nope, this disc is going somewhere, that good disc is going to me. What an impressive play. Yeah, it's impressive play by Fiona Ray to get that disc, keep that disc alive. The assist is counted towards Andrew Lewis, who I think threw the disc originally, but I think it was definitely touched and tipped again downfield. What an incredible grab. That might be currently my favorite moment of the game. Always love if you look out for your teammates, either in defense or in offense, to keep that disc where it's supposed to go, into your hands, or at least the hands of your teammates. We see another rolling pole. It's going out at a sideline, so it needs to tap the disc. The central zone first, so it needs to come in on that sideline, making it already more pressured from the beginning. Great pressure from Reading defensively. Now they've loosened up a bit. Using lane poaches, but I think Terra coming down with that really high disc again. And a run through D for Reading puts them on a chance. They're on the doorstep almost to getting their first break. Kaliko saying, I want that disc, and he gets it. And puts up the assist. I'm not entirely sure what that push was supposed to communicate, but I believe it was in good spirits. Given that body language from the opponent. A lovely put into the end zone to put
back to
another break on the board.
I'll do it.
CJ Kuliko to Jesse Liu. They got one break back. They just need another one, and they have lots of time given that we are only 15 minutes into this game. We have another 30 minutes to make it even. Unless, of course, one of them, or unless Tartu scores 15 points, 4 more points to go to the hard cap. Earlier we could see that Tartu's body language trying to calm each other down, so let's see if the offense is now back to playing as calm as they did in previous points. I believe that is a goal, but in a completely different game. For us, it means that this disc sailed out of bounds in the back, so the disc is carried to the brick point. The other games would obviously be goal teammated and also played with a different set of goals. Tam in that isolation play in the middle, going deep. But that disc is raised too low above the ground, unable to connect to that. So it's back with Reading. Immediately another break opportunity. They put it up, and now the great defensive play by Tartu to get to that disc first, pushing it out of bounds and able for Reading to connect. If we collected some viewers, because the bronze medal game seems to have issues, welcome to this very, very interesting game for the 5th place.
Yeah.
Tom isolated, giving the disc back immediately to the handler set.
Thinking that maybe next year is better if we just rely on mobile.
Yeah, rather than another one.
Even though 2 players got into that space, they communicate well. The disc ends up in the hands of Maranraba, who then passes it on with a high leading pass. And now disc is moving again. Great grab.
The city probably, and then we should.
I think Maranraba back with the disc. Terra with the first cut here in the front.
Okay.
And a great defensive play by Reading, getting to that disc on that front corner.
Okay.
Haven't realized that this
Right.
is more or less where Tartu
Thank you.
wants to score, often even on the open side, making it more easy to contest those plays. Great defensive effort by Reading. Great first cut here in the front. And that again is a great effort by the entire team to go for that disc. That was not the intended target, but they got it to it. Currently, I couldn't see the score, unfortunately, because our cameras decided to move away, but based on the response from the Reading side, we can here see and at the sideline that was a score. Graham Camp to Wong. Wong with their second goal in this game. Camp getting onto the scoreboard with the first assist. That is Reading's second break, putting us on even. Somebody called a timeout. I can imagine it might be Tartu to collect themselves and give their impressive core players and key players some rest before they put them back out on that line. Great effort by Reading to get this game back on. It's back on serve, which still gives a slight advantage to Tartu because they started on offense. But while they take a quick break, so will I. The other games in this division are the only ones still going on. I won't tell you what's happening with the final. Deep Space in the bronze medal game is slightly ahead. I don't know if the technical difficulties have been solved. Disconnection and Mancho are 1 point away, with Mancho being ahead. And as you know, we are currently with 11-11 tied. Reading coming out with another defensive line. Impressive rundown by Kemp to put on that mark immediately. But also great swing pass to get into that space for Halantara. Back to Lauritz. And impressive defense. That might even be a foot block. I'm not entirely sure. That disc curved very peculiarly. That was definitely not intended that way. After getting that block, picking up the disc. A slight misread first for the Reading player, but on that second attempt gets to that disc. That was Graham Camp to Wong again. Great awareness to get that disc moving. Reading has found their stride to work as a team. Not everything works out as intended on the first try, but either you make it yourself happen, or one of you can. Reading can now count on their teammates to make that effort to get it on the second try. That is an impressive play, putting them ahead. I believe. This is, I take it back, was obviously Luca needed to Jennifer Hagen for that first time, putting Reading up first in that score. Tartu not choosing to touch that disc, but rather picking it up, seeing as the curve made it really difficult to catch it at that angle. From Tartu, you can see a lot of the same players now on the pitch in almost every point. Again, that roster is very small anyway, so it might seem that way without them tightening their lines. But also Tartu is working together, creating space. There's a stoppage on the play. I'm not entirely sure why, but the disc is being checked back in. Tom on the disc. A very free Tara gets the disc and then pops it back and gets it back again. Marindraba to, I believe, late to Tom. And now for the score. Putting them back on the board. That's Christian Lauritz to Yannick Pello for the score. It is again tied at 12, now with a slight advantage for Reading. Reading is going to try to keep that momentum moving, whereas Tartu just needs to return to their calm and collected spacing that they did at the beginning of the game, trusting that someone else will get free and keep the disc moving. But I am glad we have an exciting game at our hands this close. Let's see if Tartu can put a full stop to that Reading run. Reading on the sideline, on our close sideline. See if that disc comes back in. I unfortunately can't see where that disc was or came out or who touched it, because I think somebody touched it coming in from the outside, but that might have been a defensive player meaning that they're still in when they touch the disc, no matter where they start from. So that seems to be a score from Nico Lester to Sam Wilson, who finally reeled that disc in. That was curving very far out. So the intention might have been to tip it further outwards, but might have accidentally tipped it back in. That's unlucky for Tartu, but also showing that they are not given up. They're still contesting almost every throw on defense. And now we see what might be their O-line back on the pitch. Tartu's setting up again in their L stack, isolating one player in the middle, putting up a disc that definitely didn't fly the way it was supposed to, but having two Tartu players going for it, coming up with one of them. There's a pick call on the pitch. I'm not sure if that was on this throw or the previous one. Doesn't seem to be the person contesting that throw, so unlucky that the change of the disc was released too high and the change of direction wasn't quite managed. So Redding is back with the disc. High release backhand and putting up a very far-aching forehand hack, sailing out at the far end zone, far sideline from us. So Tartu back with the disc. Tartu again creating space in the middle, but trying to work through the handler set first. Martin Raber coming under as the reset from the stack. Tom with the disc now. Back to Raber. Tara reels it in. Nice footwork. And sets up a arching forehand. Unfortunately, it's slightly overthrown, making it very difficult to reel it in. But that's the trust in each other that they are allowed to have and are supposed to have, and taking those risks might be very, very sensible. I think they're setting up again in a slide formation, and there's a timeout called by Redding. That might be a good call to keep the momentum out of a rather static situation. Anyway, we will see about that in a minute. I will take a short break as well. If you're choosing to watch this game out of the mixed games currently on stream, I think you made the right choice, given that is currently the closest in score. Deep Space is creating some space to 08 Ultimate in the bronze medal game, and are currently on match point. Disconnection and Manchu are also fairly close, with 8-10, and we'll have to find out for yourself how it's going in the final between Leamington Lemmings and Sesquidistos, preferably after this game has finished. The disc is back in play, and that's a great effort to try to keep that disc alive, but that's slightly overthrown and immediately picked up by Tartu. Just a slight pop into play. For the score. I believe that might be Yannick Pello to Christian Lauritz. We'll see once my information is securely updated. Yes, that seems to be correct. Time is still running, so it's likely that this game will go to 15. We've nevertheless obviously already reached all the necessary points for this game to be weighted fully in the new ranking system. Every game where the winning team reaches at least 13 points will be scored, weighted fully in the new ranking system, as well as every game that has 19 points total. If you want to find out how much points you will get for every single game, considering what the difference is, feel free to look on the ranking website of the EUCF. There is a page about the algorithm giving you all those informations. There is an explanation video from the first In and Out podcast. If you haven't already, you can look for the In and Out podcast tomorrow, where Robbie will explain what the up, and unfortunately I am gone. I don't know if you can still hear me. I can't see anything. We'll see. Hopefully we'll be back soon. Yes, we're working on the connection. I can tell you it's another break for Tartu, Helentara to Jakob Tam, putting them on match point. So unfortunately, you might miss out on the most interesting point of the game. But we'll work on it and hopefully are back soon. We're still working on the connection, and if you're still with us and doing the same thing that I just did, and just updating and checking for the updates on the schedule website, that is now Universe, Connor Hogan to Sam Wilson, who scored for Reading in that last point. And again, we'll do our best to show you that Universe live. We'll see. That currently puts, obviously, Tartu at the advantage starting on offense for that last point. I believe they might put on their best 7. The line will for sure include Jakob Tam, Lauritz, Tera, and Raba, who have all had an incredible game so far. Just considering how good the connection between these players have been in the previous points. But obviously, this very tight-knit unit of, I believe, about 18 players have had great connections all among. Let's see, maybe we can find out what Reading is up to defensively. They've had a great run getting those breaks 3 in a row earlier in the second half. So we'll see. We can also imagine, obviously, that there is some great defensive pressure from Reading right now. We've seen Kemp getting these. And we're back. We will find out in the future how good my estimation of that last point was. I unfortunately also don't know who won this game. I also can't tell from body language. It could be Reading based on the fact that somebody's sitting. Reading's being closer in that spirit circle. Yes, Reading did get that final point, winning on Universe. I didn't know if Kemp got a defensive bid, but Kemp definitely impacted this last point, being the assist to CJ Kulikyo. We're gone again, but you know that the game is over. So this has been a great play from both teams. Honestly, a great tight game. Getting back to Universe was exactly what you want as a viewer to see. This great showing of mixed ultimate, showing that both teams can play with great mixed, with male and female matching players, influencing the game hugely. Great showing from both sides, promising to keep being interesting for the next couple of points and a couple of games coming up. Again, check in to the In and Out podcast tomorrow, and also check out what's happening in the mixed final currently. I've been Mara Trapp. Lovely to talk to the void, and we will see you hopefully next time with a full game. We're working on the connection. Everyone is doing their best on this end. Thanks again for Nemo for setting this up. Thank you for everyone involved with creating this stream and making it possible to watch these many games, losing out only on a couple of games every day and a couple being major C. We'll see you around. See you next time.